Hosted by Mike, the Big Cheese.
All right, welcome back to the Heavy Metal Mayhem Radio Show. It is February the 26th of the year 2023. Another month in the books, man. It feels like we were just celebrating New Year's Eve yesterday. Now we're heading into March next week. Unbelievable how quick time goes as we get older. Right there, Blessed Death, Omen of Fate. You know, the band was in a car accident going to a show or a rehearsal, and the car overflipped and flames were coming out. And King Diamond was playing, well, Merciful Fate back then. There was no King Diamond solo band when this came out. But Merciful Fate was playing on the radio, and they felt like, they heard King's voice, and it kind of saved them and got them out of the car before anything bad happened. And that was why Omen of Fate was written. So listen to the lyrics very carefully. It talks about King Diamond hearing his voice. All right, we got a great show for everybody tonight. Talking about the polar opposite of King Diamond, Les Carlsen of Bloodgood. He's got a solo band out right now. We'll be talking to Les in about a half hour or so. And after that, Paul Duthil of every single band that's ever played in the history of music. Paul is in a lot of bands. We're going back to the days Invasion and Rugrat, to name a few. He's played with so many groups I couldn't even name them all, but we'll try to get to maybe a dozen of them during the 45-minute segment we have in the second half of the show. All right, we're going to get out as much music as we can, like always, because there are so many interviews to get through and the music kind of lacks sometimes. But sure, total devastation.
The lost of this world, the eternal hill. Let the games begin.
Alright, Nightmare 2 with Fear No Evil, not to be confused with Nightmare 1 or just Nightmare, one of the many other nightmares that were around in the 80s, whether it was spelled with an N or a K. This is Nightmare 2. Before that, Pretty Maid, when the band used to be great, when they were at their finest, with Shelley the Maid. I remember buying that EP on the Wall and Zigzag Records in 1983, maybe 84. Wow, what a great time. And sure, Total Devastation. I forgot how good that band really was. All right, you know what? We're going to do our Demolition segment now. We actually have quite a few demo tapes to get on tonight because our second guest, Paul Duthil, has a couple of great bands that had only demos out in the day. So we'll play those when Paul comes on. But last week, Iman, you wanted me to get on the Wrath. You were talking about them, and they've been around for a while. A lot of the guys in that band went on to form Martyr after that, the Martyr from California. I hear that they're working on some new stuff, actually. I'm going to reach out to some of the guys in that band and see if I can get maybe one of them on the show. So we'll do that next. But first up is Anaconda. They only had a 2-track demo that they released back in the day. They were out of Pennsylvania. There was another band called Anaconda from California at the exact same time who released an EP. But, you know, back then we didn't have the internet, so there could have been a band in one neighborhood named one, you know, with the name Anaconda. There could have been 2 towns over named Anaconda, and you really wouldn't have known. So, you know, when they're coming from different states, different countries, you know, until the metal underground scene started to pick up and fanzines came out, most bands had no idea they all had the same name. But this is the Anaconda out of Philadelphia. I believe it was Philadelphia. I know it's Pennsylvania. Here's Soundkill. Bone Crusher, The Wrath. I was just talking to Iman in the chat room and I was saying how so many of these bands kind of flew under the radar back in the day and really didn't get the attention they deserved. They came out at a time when the scene was kind of exploding and a lot of bands were getting signed and they would get more of the attention than a lot of these local underground bands would. But so many good things out there. And that's why I appreciate all these reissue labels who dig them up and reissue a lot of these songs remastered with a great package like Heaven and Hell Records. All right, how about we play some Bloodgood and then I'll get Les on the phone. We'll talk to Les Carlsen in about 10 minutes. So let's do the Messiah.
His eyes are empty, skin so white, his body's cold, it has no life. He's the Messiah. He's the Messiah. Go into the world and down. All of creation he lives. He lives in the hearts of man. He said go
I tell you, Les can really sing, boy. Let's get him on the line right now.
Mike?
Les, how are you? You're on the air live.
Oh, man. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. It's a pleasure to talk with you today. Such a big fan for some, I hate to say decades because it shows how old we are, but it's been a long
Okay,
time.
it's okay. It's okay. I'm accepting the decades thing. It's all right.
But doesn't it just feel like yesterday in a way that everything kind of got started?
It does. It really does. And it's a great feeling for me to be a part of that thing, that just took off in the 80s.
That's so
here we
true.
are.
Yeah. And, for people that don't know, I mean, you've been around long before there was even a word heavy metal and hard rock. You were doing this a very long time, but, Bloodgood is when most people kind of came into you. And when I think about it, I'm like, the early 80s, I mean, on and off, there was that one breakup in the middle for a little while, but it's basically been almost like 40 years of your life dedicated to this band. And now with this great solo record out, I mean, it feels like you just picked up where things left off and took it to a whole nother level.
Mike, the thing is that I don't want people to give up on themselves. Just keep going. I mean, the gifts that everybody has that are given, especially the musical gifts, the players that get a little bit older, stay in the game. I got to thank Mick Jagger for the example,
True. Very true. What's more impressive is that being a singer, your voice is your weapon, your voice is your instrument. And trying to maintain that because that's something that, a guitar player don't walk around all day long talking with his guitar, and a drummer's not banging on drums all day, but you talk all day, you have to use your voice all day, and then to maintain it as your instrument, it has to be difficult.
Well, it's like anything else. If you don't use it, you will lose it. So you have to just keep your chops going, I guess. But I have definitely, at my age, I've definitely seen that there have been some different timbre changes and stuff. But actually, I like the fact that I've got this low end thing that I'm just kind of digging, so.
It does sound great on the new record, and he's been out now for a little while. I mean, this is definitely like your time of the year. It's your season now, going into the Easter season for a Christian act. I mean, let's kind of go back. I mean, I guess the Bloodgood in a way. We'll take it from there, and then we'll work our way up a little bit. I mean, you have the documentary out, and there are parts in there where you guys talk about like how you weren't accepted on both ends. You figured the Christian metal scene would take you in, and then the other one would say, they're a Christian band. I'm not into that, and you have a hard time. But you kind of got stuck in the middle of both of them at the same time. And I sit back and saying, but music is music. Good music is good music. Bands wrote about sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Some bands wrote about God. Some bands wrote about the devil. It's all in the message that you're getting. But music is music, and you wouldn't think that people would discriminate against you based on a lyrical content of a song.
Yeah, but that's I guess some people run from God, and other people run to God. And then in America, it's just kind of different. But in Europe, Bloodgood was received as a metal band. And so they just threw us in the heap with everybody. I don't know what it is with Americans, but they're a little bit more choosy, I guess.
True.
But it was very interesting to be in the middle of something like that where the church, a lot of people in the church didn't understand it, and they were rejecting it. And then a lot of people that were, not of the church were going, we don't want to hear that kind of stuff. And it was just like, well, it's really affecting people on both ends, isn't it? Which is just exactly what I suppose Jesus would do.
Absolutely. I never kind of got that in a way because, really, Bloodgood were one of the first bands to come out playing Christian rock and Christian metal. I mean, bands like Trouble and Stripe and other groups came along as time went on playing different, genres of metal with, Christian or white-themed lyrics. But I think you guys were the first where you didn't, hold back. Other bands would write, with innuendos, but they wouldn't come out and say certain things, but you kind of know what they meant, where you guys just put it all on the line. It was right on your sleeve what you guys wrote about, and you didn't hold back on anything, in my opinion. I think that's what I appreciated the most about the band was that, you had beliefs and you were going to put it out there.
Mike, that is good to hear. I mean, that's good to hear because that was where we were coming from. I really felt that, hey, there's no point in putting together a heavy metal band that has a message like this and waters it down. It's heavy metal, for crying out loud. what could be more heavy metal than a crucifixion of a human being? I mean,
You're right.
come on, you want some metal? Here, have this.
That is so true. You're 100% right. But like I was saying, I mean, is it about the music or is it about the message or is it about both? Because you could have the most amazing lyrics describing anything out of the Bible or anything else, and people could read and say, "Wow, it's like really intense," and I get the point of the message. But if the music is garbage, people say, "Well, I don't really care about that." So, did you like say, we got to kind of mix this together where we've got these great catchy songs and hooks, which you did. I played the Messiah right before you came on. I mean, unbelievable. Like it draws you in musically. But it has to be a combination of both to make it as a musician, and it has nothing to do with religion or lyrics. You want to appeal to an audience of people that are going to appreciate the music.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, if you don't have your chops, then practice and don't worry about recording stuff that's not up to par. I mean, it's got to be big time great. And the reason that I was really excited about Bloodgood is that the players, when we got together and I sang with them for the first time, we'd never done any metal, or I had never done metal at all. I mean, I was mostly raised on Beatles, Rolling Stones, Janis Joplin, just but no metal really.
Yeah.
And then they said, well, here's a guy named Ronnie James Dio, so listen to him. And so I listened to him and I went, oh my God, what a great voice. And so we learned, I think it was Holy Diver or something. I'm not sure which one it was, just to see if we could play as a band. And we did the song, and wow, I just stopped and went, wait a minute, okay, we sound pretty cool. So let's do this, but we've got to do all original material. And we got to get behind it and go for it. And I said, I don't care if they throw rocks or bricks at us. As long as we're singing about Jesus, I'm fired up,
And that you did. When the band was really put, for people that don't, Michael passed away last year, but when the band was originally put together, was everybody on the same page musically and religiously? Was everybody, you weren't looking for like an atheist bass player, is what I'm trying to say. Was everybody there that had to be there, wanted to be there?
Yeah, we were all on the same page when it came to our beliefs and our faith. Absolutely.
Well, that was great. And the band had a great run back when you think about it in the 80s. I mean, you guys were playing in front of big audiences. You played with every kind of band you could imagine. And, like I said, people really need to watch a documentary. I think it's really such an in-depth, look at the band and everything that you went through back then. But there are so many bands that come out and they're just gimmicky. You have bands like Slayer or Merciful Fate that went with the satanic thing. None of them are Satanists. None of them believe in that. But it's just like to draw your attention. But you guys didn't do that on the opposite end. You guys believed in what you were writing, which I think is the most beautiful thing about it.
Again, Mike, I appreciate that because I think that, you've got to be true to what you do. And obviously, I'm a man of faith. I believe in Jesus Christ, as my Savior. But I also understand from being in the business all these years and just being around multi-talented people that unless you're really, really invested in your heart in what you do, no matter what it is, but we're talking music now, that you should be really, really good at what you do. You should be passionate about it. If you're just doing it because it's, you think it'd be fun to kind of dabble in or something, just why don't you just dabble and just stay there? Because there's so many opportunities to be real with your art. In other words, if you're a player, be a player. And if you think you're going to be a player, then earn the right to be one. Sorry to be harsh, but that's kind of where it's at.
No, I couldn't agree. I couldn't agree more with you. I agree. I think I couldn't agree more. I think there are so many bands out there today that don't take what they're doing seriously. Like I said, if you want to have fun, have fun. When you put yourself out there, you kind of take away from other bands that kind of could get that spotlight and deserve it. And maybe you're going to miss the break that they didn't get because you came out there and just looked for a little bit of attention for some sort of gimmick you put on and it didn't work out. So I agree 100%.
Yeah, because, when we record these records, they're going to be around because of the internet. They're going to be around. They're going to come back. I mean, it's amazing that even our first album, our entire catalog still seems very current because of the internet, and we can reach the entire world now. And that I'm talking not just us, but anybody that's put stuff out there. But just understand that when you get called on to be seen live, you're going to have to do what you put out there. And so, better be serious.
Yeah, very true. You know, the band had a great, to me, 10-year run in the beginning. I think it all came to an end about 93, 94. I think All Stand Together was the last record the band put out in 91. And I was kind of upset when it faded away. But the 90s were a tough time for bands. You know, a different genre of music was coming in, and bands from the 80s were kind of on the way out. I mean, obviously there wasn't anything bad that went on with the band, but how did it all come to an end? Did you know it was time to put it to bed in 94?
Well, mostly it was Michael. It was a call that Michael made. I really wasn't ready to give it, to give it a break. But the thing is that if Michael, being the spiritual leader in the band, and he was called to be a pastor, then we just sort of all took the break. Just before that break, we had gone to Russia. And it was just after the wall came down, and so Bloodgood had an opportunity to go to Russia and perform there in front of Russian people, and it was just an amazing time. So it kind of ended at the right time, and I think 22 years went by, and we came back with Dangerously Close, and it seemed like we hadn't dropped a beat, like we didn't miss a minute. So
That's true. You're right about that. But, going back to the Russia show, what was it like going to Russia? I mean, that was sort of almost as the Cold War was ending right at the end of it. I mean, it must have been some experience being there for that.
Well, Christianity wasn't really legal in that country. I mean, they actually had a museum, sort of a Christian museum, and it was all about cannibalism and eat the flesh, drink the blood of Christ, and they twisted the reality of the scriptures and stuff. It was a communist country. I mean, it was really, really lacking any truth, really. And so when we were there and being able to communicate with people and hand out Russian Bibles, I remember giving a Bible to a Russian soldier out in the street, and he looked at me and he said, in broken English, he said, "This is the book that comes alive when you read it."
Wow.
And it just blew me away. I thought, they're so deprived of the truth or the gospel here that when they really do get a chance to hear it, it just overwhelms them. And unfortunately, in America, it's like, it's I don't know, it's like they don't take it, they kind of take it for granted. But over there, what a treasure to be able to read the Word of God after all those years of having to hide that.
Yeah, I know. We take everything for granted here because of all the freedoms that we have, I think. But you're right. I mean, when you think about that, you hear that, you say to yourself, this is stuff that went on in the world like, 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, And it's kind of hard to wrap your head around that it's actually going on in the modern times in countries like Russia, who was, like I said, was a communist country back then.
Yeah. Yeah, and, I mean, there's always going to be that sort of oppression. I mean, whether it be a country or even a group of people where somebody aces you out because they don't think you're in the in crowd or whatever. I mean, life is tough, you know what I mean? It's tough, and that's I think a lot of the metal folks, which I just love, and I know God loves them. Otherwise, God wouldn't have brought Stryper and Bloodgood and Barren Cross and White Cross and all, Leviticus and all these metal bands that come up and sort of represent the the white metal side of things, but basically, I think that metalheads are looking for something that's a little bit more real to them than maybe what the world has to offer. And I just love the guts or the balls that they've got to listen to stuff like that. It's kind of cool. I mean, metal's awesome, but it always gets down to a message as to where your heart's at, I guess. And but sometimes when you're into something that isn't good for you, you realize it within itself. Something dawns on you, and you go, this is not doing me any good. So then you start looking for truth, and the truth is, Christ died on a cross and rose for after 3 days. I mean, that's pretty miraculous, and that's pretty metal.
Absolutely. Les, you were just saying, about Dangerously Close when the band got back together, not skipping a beat. And I was going to say that myself because when that came out, and then Trenches of Rock about 6 years later, it feels like you guys just kind of picked up where you left off. And do you think that's due to the tightness that the band had together for all those years previously? Did you have to kind of go and search again for that sound, or was it just naturally there when you all got back together?
Well, actually, it did come together pretty good because all the players, all of us, really are real players, you know. So you don't really just drop your instrument and let it rust. So there were, you know, people were still playing, picking up their instruments, and still listening to what was contemporary, and still being inspired by other musicians and even other genres of music. And then the diversity in the writing. We also brought in Oz Fox, and Oz and I wrote a few songs together for the album. And so there was this a really nice flavor to the whole album, and everybody was really in their game as far as what they were able to do with their instruments. So, and it was kind of a kick to sing harmonies with Oz.
Oz is a great player. He really is. And it was nice when he was playing with you guys for that bit of time over there. But, you know, like we were saying earlier, you know, Michael, they kind of unexpected. I don't know if anybody saw it coming, you know, when it happened. And it did. And you decided now was the time maybe to go off and do your solo stuff full time?
Well, you know, my plan was with Michael and I and Paul and we were Craig Church was going to be in it. And you know, of course, Kevin also had just passed away. Before Michael a little bit, and
That's right. Yeah.
But we were writing and talking about a new Bloodgood album, so it was in the works. And then when Michael had his stroke, I personally just did not want to stop. Neither did Paul or Craig, and we wanted to just keep going because, I mean, what else are we going to do? You know, it's life goes on, and I think that Michael would have, you know, been proud of the fact that we were still playing music, and we still are, and we're still, you know, we still have our faith, and our music is about the Lord, and I'm hoping that people love it. I'm hoping that it touches them in the right place, and that they just enjoy the arrangements, the melodies, and the lyrics, and the feel, and everything that comes with it.
It's a solid record. He's coming from start to finish. I mean, not a bad song on that album. That's kind of hard to do today. And I don't want to say kind of picks up where Bloodgood left off because it has its own vibe to it and it has its own sound to it. But because you were the singer for that band, you know, there's always going to be that little bit of that in you. And, you know, for people, like we were saying early on in the interviews, like, you know, before there was heavy metal, you were involved in a lot of bands that, you know, heavy metal didn't exist back then when you guys started singing and playing. And you were out there, and there was a little bit of country, a little bit of blues, a little bit of everything that you were involved in. I mean, when you first heard, you know, like the hard rock scene starting to develop and come around, was it something that you immediately got into, or was it something you kind of had to like adjust to get into that after being involved in so many different projects before then?
Well, you know, I think that it kind of served me when it came to the metal thing, because I wasn't really well versed in it, but I knew that it was edgy and it was ballsy and it was gutsy, and so then I kind of. Well, you know, earlier on when I was learning to sing, obviously I had influences from different singers, but then I'd gone through a period where I was seeking secular record deals. This is before I was a Christian, and I realized I really have got to be able to have a voice that sounds like me and no one else. I mean, obviously, if you're going to get a record deal, you want to be original. And so then I began to not really listen to too many other singers, but my foundational singing, you know, came from Beatles, Rolling Stones, and then of course Otis Redding and Wilson Pickett, and James Brown, and Janis Joplin.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, gutsy, and Rod Stewart, and then you take all that and you put it into metal, and it just kind of, I mean, they had the bluesy flavor to them, and I had learned a lot, okay. Because I'm not a spring chicken. I've been around, you know, and so I have all that early catalog in my mind, and then I was able to infuse that into my work with Bloodgood and on into my solo project. So, you know, hopefully I don't sound like anybody, but I know I sound like the lead singer for Bloodgood quite a bit.
That you do. So now that, the new record's been out now for a little while. I mean, I haven't heard anything bad about it. And today with the internet, everybody has something negative or bad to say about everything, whether it's true or not, just because they kind of want a little of attention. But it's getting great reviews so far. Now, I know you had your debut show a little while back. Where are you going to go with the band now for the rest of this year? Is there more shows coming out? Maybe touring? What do you have planned?
Yeah, we're gonna do a little bit of touring. We're gonna, and I really, this is not absolutely solid yet, but I think I'm gonna open up for Stryper acoustically in a couple of venues, and then we're also gonna do the BMI Center in September. That's in Versailles. That's the big Immortal Fest.
Yeah.
And so we're going to be doing that. But we also are working on some other electric shows as well. I want to be able to just do a plethora of things. It's very difficult to tour, with a full band, as you know.
Yeah.
Mostly just to get them started and get them booked. But I've also talked to the guys from Images of Eden, and sometimes they've expressed that they'd like to do some stuff with us. So we'll see what happens this year. We're kind of open. And honestly, Mike, I am truly starting over, and I'm okay with that. And I don't mean that I'm starting over from scratch, but I'm doing the Les Carlsen band now, and of course I am the lead singer from Bloodgood and all that, but I have to earn my way as a solo artist, and that's what I intend to do.
I have no doubt that you're going to make it happen. But, kind of in a way, when you start over, it's always nice. Always having a fresh start. I mean, you say to yourself, I know there's a lot of work that goes into, promoting the new band and getting the new name out there. But there's also a lot of excitement that comes with it, too, because it is fresh and it is new. And when you're doing it for so many years with different bands and projects, I mean, it can become old school sometimes. But there's always that freshness and that newness. And that's what life's all about.
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head, because that's really what I've got going right now. I mean, at my age, I'm going, wait a minute, I feel new and fresh? How's that supposed to work? So thank you for the extra kick in the booty, kind of cool.
Don't worry.
I mean, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, let's get finished. I was...
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, losing Michael was traumatizing. I mean, it's horrible, but we have to take what we're dealt, and we have to continue. And so I just took the cards that were dealt us, and we're going forward.
Very true. Very
that's just
true.
life. Got to do it. I mean, life doesn't last that long as it is. If you're speaking from here to eternity, I mean, anywhere between 80 and 90 years of age or whatever, that's really not that long when you're thinking in terms of eternal.
It's true, and the closer we get to that age, I remember last week we were talking about a musician who passed away. He was in his 60s. I was like, I remember when I was like, a teenager saying, wow, 60 years old, he was really old. And now that I'm like in that age group myself, I'm like, wow, 60, that seems way too young,
I know.
Your opinion changes real drastically over a few decades.
Yeah, I can remember when I was in my 20s, I was thinking, man, I hope I don't live past 30. Bunch of squares, Well, I really was wrong there. But I do have to, I mean, the reality is that, to use a football term, I'm kind of in the red zone, okay? I'm down there where close to the touchdown line. So, and that's whatever. We'll just take it one day at a time and work as hard as I can and enjoy life as much as I can, and encourage others to do the same, but also have a direction to your life,
Yeah, absolutely. And, for people that don't know, I mean, I read that you've kind of done it all. I mean, musically, you were in Hair, the musical, and you worked with Kenny Ortega, who I love, going back to the Xanadu days, he choreographed with Gene Kelly.
Yeah.
So, when I read that, I was like, wow, he worked with Kenny Ortega. I said, holy cow, he worked with Gene Kelly,
Oh, I mean, Kenny Ortega was in Hair with me, right?
Yeah.
And we did Burger and Claude together.
Okay.
Kenny and I were roommates. We were best buddies. And we'd do that show 8 times a week. And I mean, I love that guy. He is an amazing talent, and to be friends all these years, well, a little bit over 50 years now, we're still going strong. As a matter of fact, he told me that he's gonna watch the River video. I don't know if you've seen that. You should look it up. But
Your video.
yeah, it's a new
Yeah.
video called River, and it just won 3 awards from an Accolade Global Film Festival. It won Best Video, Music Video, and Best Song and Best Director.
Wow.
And yeah, and so Kenny is actually going to see that this weekend. So I'm anxious to see what Kenny Ortega says about.
That's great. That's gonna be great.
Yeah.
I mean, being on stage, I mean, that has to prepare you for anything. I mean, like on Broadway type stage, acting on stage and singing. That's got to prepare you for anything you could do in life afterwards. I would imagine that has to be like the golden arc of it all.
Well, it's the when we were in Hair, they taught us to think in terms of when people came into the theater that they were coming into our house, and the stage was our living room. It belonged to us.
Yeah.
And they were welcome to come in and see us. And I learned, and so did Kenny. Kenny learned so much from Hair. And obviously, I mean, look at his career. But that couple years out of our life is what really set us on the right path for, sort of an in-depth look at show business, theater. It's amazing. So, yes, it gives you great confidence, and you know how to work a stage, and you know how to project, and you know how to, get the guy in the back row to feel intimate with you because of what we learned on Broadway.
Yeah, that's got to be great. Two completely different audiences when you think about it too. Like a Broadway style theater audience waits till everything's over before they, give you your accolades and applaud. Where a rock audience is screaming at you through the whole show. So when you're on stage doing like Hair and you just finished this big number and nobody says a word, but they love it. It's just the respect that they have in the theater that they don't go crazy after the song is over. How does it make you feel as an artist on stage? Did you say to yourselves, "Did I do that right? Did am I getting through to them?"
Well, in Hair, I never heard a lull ever. I mean, the show was well written and the music was great. Any big numbers that were done, there was always massive applause. Hair obviously had a lot of controversy, and we were picketed by churches back then. Of course, I wasn't a Christian at the time, and I thought, what's wrong with this show, And there truly wasn't anything wrong with the show. It was just humans doing what they do and expressing themselves, but there was really no Jesus in it. But that doesn't mean that it wasn't valid and it didn't have a lot of entertainment value and great music, and even a perspective that was certainly needed, at the time of, there was a lot of boys dying in Vietnam and we couldn't see any reason why, that kind of thing. But, there was impact there, and that kind of impact is what, of course, I would always, that was sort of the bar that was set for me as a performer, that after that I always had that to try and reach for. So when I got into Bloodgood finally, and we were doing the Christian rock metal thing, I said, gosh, we need to be theatrical. We need to have choreography that works. I mean, not chorus line type stuff, but things that look really spontaneous,
Sure,
and powerful. And we did, and it was amazing how it was received.
How much work went into planning, where the band was going to go, like the image, the setup, the scenery, everything for Bloodgood, or was it just kind of came naturally from the guys that were in the band at the time, all throwing ideas out there? Was there a set vision of what the band was supposed to be, or was it more organic as you got together and started writing and performing how it went?
Well, it was organic to begin with, in the sense that we started very humble, and we literally, I mean, as a band. Now, for us, what we did is we got together every Tuesday night and we would pray for the music and for the fellowship and just the band and where we were going and for direction. I think that that's a good scenario even for people that don't believe that they should get together, they should have friendship and they should communicate. And we had this thing where we said, we're not even going to pick up the guitars until after we feel like we've come together in prayer and that sort of thing. Now, if you don't believe and you're out there and you're, doing what you're doing musically and you haven't made a choice for God, you can still take this advice. Get together with the guys in the band and consider each one more important than yourself. Be a good dude. Be a good sister. Be a good brother. Be considerate to one another. And those things work well in the world as well. Those things come from the Lord. That's his advice. But the world understands it to a degree. But follow through with it. Really care about the bandmates. And your group will get solid. And they'll sound great. And they'll perform great. But it always goes better with Jesus in it, my opinion.
That's a great lesson for bands to take on and learn. Les, I could talk to you forever, but I had another guest on tonight that I have to get to in a few minutes. But when Jeff called me up and said, you want to talk to Les? I'm like, do I want to talk to Les? Of course. I wish I didn't have anybody else on tonight, so we could have did it for the whole show. But you have to come back on again when it's just you, and we can spend the whole 2 hours talking about everything in general. But what a great job on He's Coming, and I hope that you give us another record after this. Don't make us wait too long.
Okay, Mike. I appreciate you so much. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
My pleasure. Thank you, Les. I'm going to play River because you were just talking about that in the video, and I'll put up a link for people to catch that video. It's a great song.
All right. Thank you, man.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Les. Take care. Have a great Sunday. Take care, my friend. Bye-bye.
You as well. Bye-bye.
Hope you don't mind if I just sit beside you. I need a friend to confide in. There's been some things that have happened, and resting near you seems to soothe you, inspire, soothe me. You're so steady and you quench my thirst as I see you overcome everything in your path. Everything in your path.
Les is definitely one of the best hard rock singers out there, no doubt about that. Right, we're going to get to Paul Duthil in a few minutes, so we're going to play. About a month or so ago, I started transferring a lot of the old demo tapes I had from back in the 80s, and Invasion was one of them that I came across. And there were like two invasions at the time, and I couldn't remember which one this was. If it was the Long Island one, I think there was one from Minnesota, Wisconsin, in that area, and it wound up being the Long Island one. I forgot how great that tape was. Like I said, Paul plays in so many bands. We'll talk to him about as many as we can during that interview. But none of them had title tracks to them, and I found somebody in the Long Island. I think the bass player for the band was in the Long Island Metal Group, and he said, yeah, that was us. So I have to ask Paul what the names of these songs are. I just kind of went by the choruses because nothing was written down, so we'll find out what they are then. But we'll play something right now. I think this is called We're Gonna Rock You Tonight or Rock You Tonight, and I'll check with Paul for the actual title of that song, then we'll get him on the line. So here you go. All right, I'm guessing that's We Are Gonna Rock You Tonight. Let's get Paul on the line. These back-to-back interviews are hard, I have to be honest with you. I got to spread them out a little further. We have like the 6:30 interview slot and the 7:15 one because, if you heard from the last few interviews we did, most of those guests weren't very talkative. So trying to fill up a half-hour spot is a lot. Then you got guests like tonight, like Les, who can talk, and, we have to kind of cut it quick because we have the next guest coming up. But never mind, I'm babbling on. Let's get Paul on the line.
Hello.
Paul, this is Mike calling for our interview. You're live on air. How are you?
Hey, what's going on, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. It's a pleasure to talk with you. I mean, you're in every single band in New York today, so I don't know which one to talk about, but we'll get through a lot of them.
Okay, great. Pleasure talking to you, man.
You too. About a week ago, I caught a little bit of the Sinner show in Staten Island when you guys played up. Before I went to work that night, I stopped in for a little bit. I caught a couple of songs. It sounded great.
Oh, wow. You should have... Did we talk at all? Or
no, I couldn't. I worked the night shift, so I just kind of went by before I went over the bridge to go to work. I stopped there for a couple of songs, and I had to leave.
Oh, okay, cool. Did you like it?
It sounded great. Sounded really
Okay,
good.
great.
Appreciate it.
Awesome.
Thank you, buddy.
Yeah, that
But,
band's been around for a while now.
yeah, you got so many bands, but you know what it is? About a month ago, I was transferring some old demo tapes from the 80s, and I came across the Invasion tape. And I was like,
Oh,
holy
my
cow,
God.
I forgot how good. There were no song titles. I'm trying to guess them all. Like, We're Gonna Rock You Tonight, Metal Brigade. I'm trying to figure out what the song
you got
titles
that
are.
one.
What happened?
Yeah, there was like actually two Invasion demo tapes. That was one of them, and then there was another one that we released with a different singer. I don't know if you got that one. But yeah, the one you had Rocky Tonight, Metal Brigade, and I think Victim of the Storm was the other one.
I think that's it, yeah. But,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we could kind of take it. Was there another band before then that was kind of serious, or was that like the first band where it all kind of came together for you?
That was kind of like the first original band that
Yeah.
I did. We started out doing, we recorded a demo of just cover songs, and then we started writing our own stuff, and that was like the first original band that I actually released anything with. So that's where I got my start.
And that was a great tape. And, New York was an amazing place to be in back in the 80s with Lemoore and Sundance, all these great clubs we had to, New York, Long Island area. But you guys picked up and went to California.
Well, what happened was, we did some shows in the area, and then I guess we had made a trip, we went on a trip to California, and then when we, some of the band members, we were all over there, and then some guy came up to us and, was offering us a management deal, and, at the time, it seemed kind of sketchy to me. So when we got back to New York, we talked about it, and then 3/5 of the band decided to move to move there, and me and the other guitar player stayed here, and then kind of just that was kind of like the end. I think they ended up getting a new two new guitar players, and they tried their luck out in California, but it didn't pan out over there either for them, and that band just kind of fell by the wayside.
Yeah. How much, I mean, like you were saying, you didn't want to go back to California. Did you think that it wouldn't have happened if you went out there? Or maybe, obviously it didn't, but you guys weren't a part of that lineup when it happened in California. But do you think if you guys were part of it, maybe something would have happened? Did you just feel like, it wasn't the place to be?
I don't know, because, at the time, California was undergoing a different scene, bands when I was there when I went there at that time, bands like Jane's Addiction were kind of just starting to break big, and there wasn't really the metal the metal scene I thought was kind of shifting. Los Angeles was really never really known for hard metal. It was more the Motley Crues and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
Down in the Frisco, up north. Frisco was the metal scene, but even that was kind of undergoing some changes too. That whole scene was shifting towards the more, I don't want to say alternative type of stuff, but that's really kind of what was going on in the Los Angeles area. So to me, it just didn't seem like, it was the wrong time. If we would have done it a few years earlier when, that whole heyday was going on the Strip with all those bands, maybe it would have been a little different. I don't know.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. But, we had a scene to rival LA's here in New York. I mean, between all the clubs we had, we were just as big, if not bigger, I think, in a certain way.
Yeah, back in the day, sure, you had Lemoore's, and you had, all those places to play. It was, it was such a different time period than it is nowadays. Now, you don't really have any of those types of places really anymore left to play.
That's the truth. I mean, I tell people all the time, I say, you went to your local club, Long Island had a great February and Sundance and so many other places out there. And we had Lemoore in Brooklyn where I grew up, and you had places. But when you went there, you knew everybody in that place. You didn't care what band was playing. You went there to hear any band that was playing. It didn't matter who was on the stage. It was like a community.
It was definitely a community, and I'm glad that, I was a part of it. it was definitely a great time period for me. I mean, I got the most out of it, out of what I could. I never, made it huge in the original band form, but I think I made my mark in terms of getting myself known, and a lot of people still remember those. A lot of people still remember those early, tapes of the Invasion and the bands I even formed after that. I still get people call me up saying, they came across it and they still have it. I'm like, wow, I don't even have it.
But it's true. People that were there don't forget. I mean, like you were saying, after the other guys went back to, yeah, like after the other guys went back to LA to keep up with the Invasion, you and Buzz kind of stood together for quite a long time. You had Rugrat, you had Richter's Grin after that. Two great bands that had amazing tapes and songs.
You know my history very well.
Yeah.
It looks like, me and Buzz definitely, we were, guitar duo for a pretty long time. We just played well with each other, and we just had that that chemistry that two guitar players have when they do bands, and we just one band fell apart, we formed another one and tried to look at that, and then eventually everything ran its course, and we all kind of just split up, and I ended up doing my own thing and went into a different thing. Now I do a lot of tribute bands. You probably know all that already. And now I'm about ready to launch a new project, a new original band, which I have really high hopes for. It's called Divine Oblivion. I don't know if we haven't released anything yet, but the whole scenario of this band is going to be based on the whole Dungeons and Dragons kind of motif. So it's all the songs are themed on that kind of thing, and we're going to have hopefully we're going to get people to come dressed in cosplay with the whole coming in characters, whatever they want to be, whether it's demons or warlocks or wizards or whatever. You can pick your own character if you're into D&D. There's so many characters that you can be, and we're going to encourage everybody to kind of get dressed up and be a part of it. And so far, the people that we've expressed that idea to have all been all for it and loving it. So we're just about ready to launch our first, I guess, hopefully it'll be an EP, but right now we're calling it a 3-song demo. We're going to probably send it out to a few labels for review. Hopefully one of them, one or two or more get back to us, and we can, create maybe a bidding war to see who wants to take it on.
I love it. The first interactive metal band come in costume.
Well, D&D is kind of such a big thing now, and our singer, she's a female singer. She's totally immersed in that whole scene. So she's she's big on that, and we got all these. We're all going to create our own little characters, so to speak. So she's going to be this Tiamat character. She's got a whole sick costume with lighted up wings, and it's gonna be really cool. I think it's definitely gonna be something you've never seen before. That's for sure.
I can't wait. How far along are you in the process? I mean, are the songs already written, or are things still being worked on?
Yeah, no, we have enough material right now for at least an album or more. Everybody kind of came to the table with a lot of material. I have a lot of material. The bass player, writes a lot. The other guitar player we just, found he's going to be joining, but we definitely have enough material. Even the singer writes too. So, so between all of us, we've easily got an album or more of material just waiting, to be recorded and released. So, if a label does come along and wants to, do something with us, we're more than ready to go on the road.
I have to tell you something. I have a friend who has a label who's a big D&D fan. And I think it
Oh,
would actually
really?
be interesting in a lot of your older stuff too, maybe as reissues or putting them out there again and the new music. So after the show is over, I'm going to send them a couple of your songs from the older stuff, and when you get something new, let me know, and I'll
Yeah.
put you guys in touch. And you never know, it might happen.
Hey, listen, I get asked all the time. Like, as a matter of fact, I was talking to somebody else the other day about that he wanted to re-release all those demos on his label. You might even know. I don't even know if you know this guy, but you might. But yeah, so I mean, right now I'm in the process of trying to get actual copies of all the stuff so that I can, maybe like record, not re-record it, but like, try to remix it so I can at least because I don't know, some of these were recorded on cassettes, so like I don't know how
Yeah.
good, the quality is going to be, but if I can get them decent enough, I can probably, with all the editing software that's available now, I can probably go in and re-cue it and maybe bring it back to life a little bit if it's all, depending on how badly it's washed out or not.
Yeah, there was some great stuff out there, especially the Richter's Grin stuff. I love that
Oh, you
demo
like
tape
that
from
stuff?
I love that tape.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's I think, to me, honestly, like I look back on that and I listen to it, and to me it sounds very primitive, and like I'm not really too keen on like, the sound of it, only because like, back then, the technology wasn't what it is nowadays. So like, it was kind of like limited to, we didn't have a lot of money we didn't go into a top of the line studio. We kind of did this all on our own in the basement in the back of my store. We had like a 8-track setup, and it was just like really primitive, but it was what it was.
For the time, but so many bands say that like they're not happy about like an old tape or an old band that they were in.
Yeah, well,
But I mean, when you look at it, do you say it's like I look at the music and what you put out, not the quality of it, because I understand what it was like back then. But musically,
Yeah.
the songs to me all has something going on to them. Maybe not the sound quality or the production, but the
Yeah,
music
well,
was there.
At the end of the day, it is all about the songs, and like not so much like the quality of this. A good song is a good song, no matter how you slice it. So I'm pretty ecstatic that you are a fan of that, and that to this day, I'm glad you still like it.
Yeah, I still play it. I was playing Put to Death the other day when I was actually thinking about my wife. It's probably not the best time to play that song, but I had that.
Right.
Earlier you were saying, like you're in so many, tribute bands, and then you were talking about the original music, and you've done both of them. Is it kind of sad in a way that you could have more success in one of your tribute bands than with all that great original music that you put out over the years?
Yeah, I mean, listen, like the tribute scene is pretty cool. It allows me to, there's a big difference between playing like in a tribute band and playing original music. Original music, it's much tougher to get a foothold in the scene nowadays, because number one is, nobody really wants to, the original market here is really tough to break into with places that really will have an original band, first of all, and then, of course, getting an audience to come see a band that they've never heard of, or like, taking their chances to go see an original band is like trying to pull teeth, to get people to come. But, with the tribute band, it's like at least, you can gain an audience. You can, there are some tribute bands that, are doing this for a living. I don't put myself in that category, but I definitely, I'm having a lot of fun doing it. And, like I travel here and there, and it works out. It just allows me to keep playing and to, have fun and, expand my audience. And hopefully, when the time comes, when I release something original, I can, cater to all those people that come see my tribute shows. And, there's an audience waiting for me that hopefully will dig the original stuff that I'm doing.
That's true. I mean, so you do have that opportunity to kind of promote, like, Divine Oblivion throughout the other band shows while you're playing. And
Yeah.
this is what we were saying earlier. Like when we went to a club back in the '80s, we didn't care what band was playing. We were gonna, you were gonna like it or you didn't like it, but we gave it all a chance. We didn't have to have a record beforehand. There was no promotion beforehand. Today is so different.
No, listen, back in the day when you went out, you were there for the whole night. You stuck around for all the opening bands. Like maybe some bands, came and went. And when they came on, maybe you paid attention, maybe you didn't. If they were good and they had some good songs, maybe you were like you got exposed to somebody that you never heard of before, which was all good. But at the end of the day, it was definitely like it's nowhere near what it is now. Now people just specifically come to a show to see one band, and then they either don't stick around or they leave, or it's totally a much more difficult thing to do to get people to if you want to put on an original show like with like 2 or 3 or 4 like original bands, it's really difficult because fans of one band aren't going to stick around to see the entire show. Maybe they'll come for one band and then they'll leave. You know what I'm saying? It's completely different now. It's just a lot tougher.
It really is. I remember a couple of years ago I was going to see a show and the Rods were like the biggest band on the bill and they were going on second. I was like, why the hell are the Rods going on second? And it's like, because I was talking to Carlsen, he goes, because, by the time we go on at the end of the night and we headline the show, everybody be gone. The people just coming for that first, so we figure we come on. I'm like, that's kind of, like, what the hell's going on with the headline band and a well-known band like the Rods? It's got to go on second on the bill that the headline is to, because nobody will stick around to the end when you really are going to see them.
Right. Well, that's exactly what the problem is. Like nowadays, bands, the headlining band doesn't really even want to be the headlining band because they're going on last at the end. And now, depending on what time they go on, if it gets past like midnight or 1 o'clock, everybody goes home. People don't want to stick around till 3, 4 in the morning, like back in the Lemoore days. The headliner didn't go on until 2 o'clock.
I was just going to say that the opening bands would be on at midnight sometimes.
The opening band, right? The first band didn't go on until 11. So it's like, I remember going to see Accept. They went on at 3:30 in the morning.
Yep. If it's crazy back then, I tell a story.
The problem is the place is packed.
I know. Oh, Lemoore's. I said the story. I remember the first time I went to Lemoore, it was Quiet Riot was playing with Talus. That was the first time I ever went to Lemoore. I was a teenager, I couldn't even get into the place, but I gave the bouncer a few dollars and he let me through the door there. But I remember buying a ticket and it said, doors open at 6 o'clock. So I it's Quiet Riot. We got there at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, there was going to be a line, and we heard nothing but crickets. We met the band, we hung out with the band. I remember going to the show. My parents were like, you're 15 years old, be home by midnight. I'm like, okay. And it's 1 o'clock in the morning. Talus didn't even come on yet. I was like, I'm getting my ass kicked no matter what, so I may as well just ride out till the morning.
I know. But listen, that was the beauty of it. You didn't leave. Like I said, you didn't leave the house to go out until 10 o'clock at night to go to the club. Now it's like you got to be at the club. It's like with some of these shows, man. That they put the fucking bands on at 6, or 5.
It's true.
Depending on how many bands they have opening, and it's like. It's just it's completely different, and plus, not to mention, the fact is when you have an original band and you want to, God forbid, you want to try to get on an opening slot with it in front of a national, you got to go through that whole, buying tickets to sell, and it ends up, being almost like cost effective to even want to do it because these clubs. In order, what they do is, I'm sure you probably know, but that they make the opening acts, purchase
tickets,
whatever, 50 tickets, 25 tickets, whatever it is, that you have to personally guarantee the club that you're gonna sell, that you physically have to buy them. So you're right off the bat, you're out of pocket, whatever the face value of the tickets is, times how many you need to buy. So, for instance. One of my bands opened for Queensryche back in, I don't know, maybe 5, 6 years ago at the at Stereo Garden in Patton. And to get on that show, it ended up costing us almost close to $3,000 with ticket sales. And
wow.
Thank God, my guitarist at the time, he knew a lot of people, so we were able to actually, move all the tickets and make our money back. But we didn't make any money. But the point is, thank God for that. Otherwise, you know, it would have cost us, you know, $3,000, and you know, just for the privilege of doing a 20-minute set in front of Queensryche and going on at like, you know, 7 o'clock at night when the place really isn't even like filled up yet. So it's kind of like, you know, that's kind of what you're up against. It's that, and you know, trying to, you know, gain an audience, you know, that wants to hear original stuff.
It's true. It's crazy. You know what? Stuff like this didn't even go on in the prime days of metal in the 80s. And
No,
I had a couple of young bands on my show that just brought on to like 2 tours. I'm like, you know what? In the 80s, that might have benefited you because you were going to play in front of a packed house and an audience. Today, it's not. So why spend that money just to say, I went out on the road with this band?
You're losing money. It's a losing battle. You know, to buy onto a tour, if you're going on like, you know, whatever, 20, 30 dates, or, you know, it's easily going to cost you $10,000 or better, you know, just for that privilege. And then that's just to buy onto the tour. That doesn't include, you know, how you're going to travel around, how you're going to get around, how you're going to eat, how you're going to do this, where you're going to stay, you know, like that's extra on top of what you have to just pay to play. You know, so like you think about it, you know, like these bands, you know, don't even really have a fighting chance unless they have deep pockets and somebody in the band's got money to, you know, to burn to finance that until something, you know, that either the band can figure out a way to make some money while they're on the road, or, you know, somehow, you know, generate some money coming in.
It's true. You know, with most of them, they do these GoFundMes, these Kickstarter. It's like, you know, you're paying for them to have fun, you know.
You could do that if you know, but that's not really my, I don't know. I would never do that. I would never like create a GoFundMe page. You know, I don't know. That's, to me, that's stupid.
That's the younger generation. That's how they do everything today. You know, they want other people to pay for them.
Yeah, all these Gen Zs and these millennials, they, you know, they feel entitled that they, you know, like you should finance my lifestyle.
I'm gonna start one myself to take my family on vacation somewhere. I think.
Right.
See if that works.
Maybe.
How's the Long Island scene today? I mean, is it? I know it's not like is it vibrant enough to keep busy?
You know, yes and no. I mean, not really. I mean, there's only like a handful of places, like, you know, with the tribute bands, especially with, you know, what I do, there's only like maybe 2 or 3 around, you know, in Long Island per se. There's only like 2 or 3 like decent venues that you know, I would really want to play at, you know, because you know, some of these bands that I'm in, you know, like I really don't want to play like you know, these small bars that, you know, with no stages and like everybody's kind of crammed in a corner. It doesn't translate when you're trying to put on a show like a Judas Priest show or a Kiss show or you know, Twisted Sister or whatever bands I'm in. You know, you can't. It doesn't translate when you know, unless you're on a bigger stage. You know, with a sound system and the whole 9 yards. You know, an actual music venue. There's really not that many left. There's only like, you know, like I said, I could probably name like 3 places that like I would really want to play at. That and you know, with the tribute bands, you know, you how many times are you going to play there? You can't play there more than like once every 6 months. So, you know what I'm saying? You're talking about like, you know, unless you're playing all three places, you know, you're only talking about doing 5 or 6 shows a year.
Yeah, it's crazy when you think about it. I mean, you have anything coming up soon? I mean, next time you're in Staten, I'm retired after tomorrow, so anything you play, I can stick around for the whole night for. So if you got anything coming to Staten Island, because I can't deal with that Bell Parkway.
Oh, I know. I mean, well, you know, when you after the pre-show, when the Metallica band went on, the place got shut down.
Really?
Yeah, the cop, like, we went on a little bit too late for that place. I guess they after 12 you can't really be making any. They don't want noise, so like, you know, the Metallica band went on like right around 12ish. I had already left, but you know, from what I was told, like 3 songs into their set, the cops came and basically, you know, shut the whole place down.
I didn't even know they had shows there. I used to go in the summer with my wife. It's like a tiki bar on the outside and stuff like that they have. And they're doing shows here now?
Listen,
no promotion.
You know, No, I mean, Staten Island, I'm not really, I've never played Staten Island before because, number one, it's really, I didn't know any places in Staten Island to play. Like I know Lemore's, moved there.
Yeah.
When they tried to make a go of it there, but it didn't work.
Because nobody wants to spend $20 to come over the bridge. That's why.
Well, that's yeah, of course. And now it's even more than that. But I totally agree. It's like that bridge is a killer.
Yeah. But there really isn't much out here. But next time you're in anywhere in Staten Island or Brooklyn, I'll come see you. I think about that Bell Parkway.
Yeah. Well, where do you live? In Staten Island?
I've been in Staten Island for 30-something years, but originally from Brooklyn.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, like I said, back in the day, the Lemore's was the capital. That was the place to play, and I played some great shows there myself. We opened for Anthrax a couple times, and opened for a couple other bands, Motorhead and Nuclear Assault. Back, so it was fun. It was definitely a lot of fun.
It was definitely great times. Why did you kind of give up on music in the '90s? Was it kind of over for you after Richter's Grin, or did you keep going with other stuff? Because I remember Xanderley was the next time I heard you. It was on that album.
Yeah. So basically after Richter's Grin, I kind of that was I took a break, and then after that I kind of got back into it, and I was with Zandel for. We did I did one album with them. I was with this band called Fishel's Beast, which was
Barry Fischel.
Yeah, you know him? Okay. So
I had him on the show years ago. He's from Sentinel Beast in California before he moved to New York.
Correct. So I hooked up with him for a while, but that really just was difficult. He was very difficult person to deal with. So
his wife is more difficult.
I'm sure. Yeah. Well, he was just. I don't know. It just wasn't. It was good music, but it just. The conflict. His personality was just.
I hear you.
So
I know.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm not going to get into that, but needless to say, that didn't pan out. But yeah. So then Sandel, that was cool. We toured Germany. We actually went on a couple tours over there. We did some big festivals, and we went on tour with this band called what the fuck was that name? And then Night Grand. I forget what they were called, but they were Grail Knights is what they were called, and they were kind of cool. They had on their gimmick was they all kind of dressed up as superheroes, and they did this melodic death metal.
Oh, okay, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was really fun. They were cool guys, and we did 15 dates all throughout Germany and Holland and Belgium and the whole 9 yards. And then after that we came back, but then it wasn't really a good fit with Zandel either. Again, it was a combination of personalities, and we just didn't fit. So
yeah.
That band continued on. I left that band, and they released a few more albums, and then that band broke up as well. And then I had this band called What the Hell. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh yeah, the beginning EP, yeah.
Yeah. So you have that too?
Sure do.
Oh, nice. Okay, so you got my whole catalog. Yeah. So So What the Hell was actually cool too. We came out strong. We got a lot of national act shows right off the bat. Everything was moving along fine. But then as always happens, there's always one bad seed in the band that causes conflict, and that's kind of what happened with that. Me and the bass player started fighting a little bit about direction of the band and songwriting and this and that, and that's it. That's all it took for that band to implode, and that's fast forward, and that's when I started doing all the tribute bands, and now I'm current with what I'm about to do now.
Oh, that's great. You would think, with musicians, with all the bands, especially that band, they're talking about, what the hell? That's John Faccetti you were talking about. You played in Richter's Grim
Yeah,
with too, so you had,
yeah,
you had something with that guy for like decades.
yeah. Well, me and John were friends for forever. But the problem is, and then this is, just the way my perspective. I played with John many times, and uh, it was always the question. It was always the problem. Always came into play that as soon as something started going well, John always all of a sudden he would just try to take over the project and make it all about what he wants and
Yeah.
playing his songs and this and we just I don't know. I mean, I was the one that kind of did all the work, getting the band going and finding all the people to play in it, and making sure that it had traction moving forward. Because I got the experience to do that. And then once the ball got rolling, all of a sudden it was just like fucking. He's telling me, well, almost like he wants to take over now, and then you can't do that. It's like just have fun and see where it goes, and don't make it about yourself. It should never really be about yourself. It should just be about the band as a whole and what you can contribute to the scene.
Absolutely, and I thought that would have been stuff that we've gotten over, after the whole scene went to shit in the '90s when grunge came around.
Yeah,
you think as people got older and we did it again, and you would say, you know what, let's just have fun with this, make it. But there's still that headbutt that goes on.
Some people just don't know how to have fun, and I think the problem is when it comes to egos and when people start believing their own hype, and when things start taking off, and it changes people, and some people just can't handle it, and it just does something to them, and they become these people that nobody wants to be around. It's just it's kind of like a sad thing, because it ruined two projects that I was in with him, and it's it just made me realize that I could never really ever be in a band with him ever again, because it's kind of frustrating to do all that, get all the band, get the band together, and make all that effort and start making progress just for for it to implode, and just isn't about ready to get going.
I can imagine. I mean, does that discourage you, from wanting to start another band? Because, if I put this band together and one guy does something,
Yeah, absolutely. It takes the sales right out of you, because, you spend all this time, and, it takes, months and years sometimes to you got to really, sacrifice a lot of stuff to get a band up and running, and, things don't just come to you, if they do, you that's a great thing, but usually you have to scratch and claw to make any kind of progress. And here we are, we had a band, and with based on my contacts, I was able to generate some really high profile shows for us, and it was just everything was where it needed to be, and then all of a sudden it was just the poison opened up, and it was enough to effectively kill the band. And it's just what are you gonna do?
I know. There were so many musicians that look forward to joining an already established band, because all the legwork has been done for them. They just kind of step in and they know their role, and they just do it. But sometimes you gotta eat a lot of shit and eat a lot of crow, because you're in somebody else's group and you're kind of playing by their rules. I mean, is that something you prefer to do, you can live with, or is it where you want to just be in charge of the band now, so it goes your way? You don't have to deal with all those personalities and attitudes.
Well, I never really made any band about me. I've always tried to, try to steer the ship and get it to, get things moving along. But I always prefer to, be in a band where everybody contributes and everybody, is on board, and nobody really, it's not my band per se, but if everybody wants to, people can contribute. If they don't want to, that's fine. But I prefer, if somebody comes in with material, everybody helps out, for the common goal. it's much easier when you have like 4 or 5 people working as a unit than it is one guy steering the whole ship and saying, okay, well, this is what's going to happen, and this is the way I want it to go, you know.
Yeah, and that's a hard thing to get sometimes too, because most musicians, especially songwriters, they have a style and a way they want things to go and sound. And when other people start contributing, sometimes it causes a lot of hell and a lot of chaos if everyone's not on the same page.
Yeah, well, especially when it comes to songwriting, because that's kind of where you make. That's where all the money comes in with royalties and writing credit, and it can get a little dicey sometimes when it comes to that,
Oh, absolutely. Hey, Paul, I mean, I could talk to you forever, man. I only got about 5 minutes left in the show, and I want to play a couple of songs by your bands before we cut it off. But I tell you what, when Divine Oblivion is ready to come out, come back on here. We'll do it again, and we'll make you the only guest on the show that night.
Yeah, but what I'm going to do is, as soon as the demo is, we got to mix one more song. As soon as that's all mixed and we have 3 solid songs, I'm going to definitely send it to you. And then, whenever you want to do that, you tell me, we'll do like a listening party or whatever you want to do. And by all means, I definitely want you to hear it.
Absolutely, my friend. I'm going to put you in touch with my friend from that label. Maybe you guys can make something happen.
Okay, very good.
Nice talking to you, Paul. Take care. Have a great night, my friend.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye. All right, you know what? We were talking about a Victim of the Storm before, so let's get the Rugrat on. well, Dark Nemesis. I want to thank Paul and Les for being on tonight's show. I do appreciate it. What a great way to close out the month of February. Next week, it's the beginning of March of 2023. Who do we have on the show next week? Frank Aresti from Demon Acts and Fate's Warning is on the show next week, as well as Bernie Carlos from Psy. So it's a great way to kick off the month of March. You know, after 34 years of working for the Consolidated Edison Company of New York, I am officially retired as of this Tuesday, but I am off tomorrow and Tuesday, so I guess I'm officially retired now. Now, you know, I usually work overtime every Sunday night, and I usually work Saturdays too a lot. So for like 34 years, I've worked like probably tens of thousands of hours of overtime. It's feeling weird tonight that I'm not finishing the show at 8 o'clock, getting dressed, getting in my car, and driving into New York City to go to work. It's my first weekend of not working overtime since I've been with the company. It's kind of a weird feeling, but it's kind of nice to be retired also. So there you go. Maybe now that I don't have to rush into work anymore, we'll make the show a little longer on a Sunday. I try to keep it at 2 hours so I have time to wrap everything up and get into work, but maybe next week we'll run a little later. We can go up to 3 hours, but I try to keep it at 2, because who the hell wants to spend more time than that with me on a Sunday night? But maybe we'll expand it, especially with all these guests we have on all the time. So there you go. Okay, we're going to wrap it up here tonight. One more song, Elegant Weapons, brand new band by Richie Faulkner of Judas Priest. He's got Ronnie singing with them, Ronnie Romero. Rex Brown is on bass, and, you know, Scott from Judas Priest is also on drums. Another super group, if you want to call it that, you know, but next year you'll see Rex Brown going out and playing as Elegant Weapons, you know, Rex Brown's Elegant Weapons, the way things are going in this scene today. But let's play a tune off of that, and, you know, I have so many more songs I wanted to get to. It's just hard. When you do a 2-hour show, you kind of have to cap your guest off at 45 minutes for interviews. But like I said, we will run longer starting next week because we'll have the time. So here you go, Elegant Weapons. Take care, everybody. Have a great week, and I'll see you next Sunday night.